consecutive games produced 2 upsets, with each of the lower seeds recording double-digit victories. First, it was number 9 Indiana State taking out number 8 Southern Illinois, and then in the second contest, number 10 Drake won only their second game of the year as they defeated number 7 Wichita State. Hi everybody, I'm Steve Schlanger. Welcome to our Diet Pepsi Missouri Valley Conference studios here at the Kiel Center. I'll be here this afternoon and this evening to help guide you through our quarterfinal round of the Valley Tournament. We have 4 terrific ball games that will construct the semifinal bracket for tomorrow, the first of which will pit number 1 Illinois State against Indiana State. And to call it for you from the Kiel, let's now go courtside to Mitch Holtis and Jim Gibbons. Mitch.
All right, Steve, and a good Arch Madness Missouri Valley Saturday to you. And Jim, Illinois State has had 3 consecutive 20-win seasons, and now Kevin Stallings has a regular season title to his credit.
Well, you know what, Mitch? They've got balanced scoring. They've got an inside and outside presence. They can play defense. They can rebound. They've got good coaching, and I'd say that's a pretty good package.
Jim, Illinois State is so unselfish, it's hard to single out a player. But the next emerging star in this league could be sophomore Rico Hill.
Well, I would agree with you. That young man is their leading scorer. He is also their leading rebounder, and believe it or not, he leads them in steals. He is a terrific post-up guy inside. Very big, wide body, but now, Mitch, he's moving out on the floor to shoot that 15-foot jumper. He is really tough to match up with.
Yesterday, Indiana State won only its second game in this tournament since Larry Bird played at ISU, and that was 20 years ago. It was a giant win.
Well, I would say it's a huge win because they've been playing well. They beat Creighton. They beat Southwest Missouri at the end of the year. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now, Mitch. They are really feeling good about themselves.
And one of the more remarkable players in the country is Jim Cruz, who's led the league in rebounding 2 consecutive years.
Well, I want to tell you something, pal. Every team should have a Jim Cruz. If I had a team, I'd have him. He's a Mr. Everything. He is their leading scorer, their leading rebounder. He has had 20 rebounds in one game, 15 in another game, led the conference twice in rebounding, and the last person to do that, Larry Bird. He has got it all.
All right, let's check out your Van de Kamp frozen food keys to the game.
Well, we're going to look at Indiana State first. Illinois State hurt the Sycamores in transition in both earlier games, Mitch. Indiana State has to get back and push out to those three-point shooters and limit the three-point shots. They need to be aggressive offensively. They want to spread the floor, attack the basket, and try to get Illinois State in foul trouble. Now, for Illinois State, the Redbirds have to win the battle on the defensive glass, especially get into Jim Cruz's body. The Sycamores are going to try to spread the floor out. They know that. They're going to try to stop and contain Green and Hargrove on that dribble penetration.
And yet in Indiana State's 3 biggest wins this year, at Wichita State, Southwest Missouri State at home, and yesterday, this guy, Nate Green, was a big factor in all 3, including a career-high 20 in 2 of the 3 games. We'll have the lineup, Valley. At the Indiana State lineup, Nate Green and Hargrove back to the lineup at point guard. Stroud and Wells in the front line, along with rebounding machine Jim Cruz for the Indiana State Sycamores. For the number 1 seed, Illinois State Redbirds, Rico Hill, Dan Muller, and Watkins on the front line. Hill and Watkins, a great complement inside. 3-point shooting specialist Skip Schaefer at the off guard. And one of the leading point guards in the country, at least assist-wise, is Jamar Smiley, who leads the Valley in assists. And the tap to open the game. They're going to retoss it here.
They are. Ron Burkholz had the call.
Here's
Kastner.
Sherm Dillard. He's excited after yesterday's win, Jim.
I'll tell you, what did we say to him at the press conference? I thought he would have a heart attack. The Colt went off. I didn't know what was going to come next, but boy, he deserved it. They played pretty doggone well.
And the question today is how much fuel do they have to take on this Illinois State team, which has won 21 games.
Especially the man right there with the ball, Nate Green. He's got to have a big day here, Mitch, or they're in trouble. He's got some stress fracture problems. I'm anxious to see if he can go 40 minutes at the pace Illinois State will make him go.
He played 33 minutes. Nice pass. To give and go in a bucket for Jason Wells of Indiana State.
Nice 2-on-2 recognition right there. Great pass and good conversion and a good no call.
Illinois State throws it away. Leroy Watkins was looking low.
We talked to Sherm, right to Sherm Dillard, I'm talking about, right before the game. I said, come on now, Sherm, you're going to play that zone? Yeah, we're going to play. Is there going to be a match? Yeah, it's going to be a match, so we'll look for the 3-2 match when the Sycamores are on defense.
Illinois State is so good defensively. Last year, they set a school record in limiting their opponents to 41%. This year, they broke the record they set a year ago.
Isn't that a pretty good match right there, Mitch Hargrove against Smiley?
Particularly since Nick Hargrove had the big day yesterday. A season high. Good defense by Smiley.
That's it. Get it back out and get yourself. Oh, boy, look at this.
He had to an air ball. It was only 1 second on the shot clock.
You know what, Nate? I'm not sure Nate knew toward the end there, Mitch, but see if you have Kevin Stallings, huh? What a job he's done. Look at the 4-year record. Nate should have moved forward to catch that pass, Mitch, and then taken the shot on the move. Now, that's a freshman, and I'm not second-guessing. He knew how much time was ready. He needed to get a little closer.
Illinois State, outstanding with the motion offense. Shafar for 3. And Cruz is over the back. Jim Cruz, again, the conference's leading rebounder. He is, of the top 24 rebounders in the nation, he is the smallest, but it just doesn't matter with him. But that time, good block out by the Redbirds, Jim, and Cruz was fouling.
Well, Kevin Stallings said when you start talking about Indiana State, you start with Cruz. That's what he said. He has done some unbelievable things, and he's amazed at his ability to get things done. Watch them pass people through on the match. Watch them pass, but you have to know where the people are. You've got to really communicate when you're matching, Mitch, because people can really spread you when you don't talk to on defense.
Good recovery by the Sycamores on Shafar. He's missed his first 2. Muller can also shoot from that distance and does so. Dan Muller, 2 years in a row, the conference defensive player of the year. But Jim, people maybe underestimate his offensive prowess.
He's taken 111 3-point shots. The guy that can't shoot him isn't going to do that. Not in Kevin Stallings' system. But, you know, he plays so hard defensively. And as you said, the defensive player of the year twice in a row. You know, he's not worried about offense because he knows he's got enough guys that can do that. And when he scores, that's just great.
That's his 36th 3 of the year. He had 5, Muller did, in 1/2 against Southern Illinois.
That's a good kick-out. That's a good drive and a good kick-out right there.
And a 3 by Jason Wells, who has all 5 Sycamore points.
See, the interesting thing about Nate Green is he'd rather play the point. He's a 2-man, but he played point in high school, and he likes to have the ball in his hands, and there was a perfect example of it. Well, there's Indiana State doing a good job.
They're flying around. Muller came in from out of bounds.
You know why I'm saying they're doing a good job, Mitch, and see if you agree with me. They've got Illinois State burning a lot of time off of that clock on each possession, and I think the less possessions that Illinois State gets in this game, the more it's playing into Indiana State's favor.
Yeah, the Sycamores need to shorten the game.
Exactly, absolutely.
And they're really bouncy to start this game in the matchup zone. Green, the freshman, was shut off.
He's had the ball 90% of the time, hasn't he, Mitch?
What makes Illinois State so good defensively, Jim?
Well, I mean, I think that what I'm going to say to you is I think they'll help and recover defense the same as Bradley. Boy, I love help and recover defenses. You put that ball on the floor and you start to drive, and you're going to see a bunch of white shirts there. Watch people come over. See, look at that right there. You know, now you've got to make it. Now, look at that. He ran into a third person. They rotate so well and help and recover so well that they really make it tough on you to get inside on them.
What you're also telling me is they communicate very well.
You bet.
Indiana State stays in the matchup zone, as you can see.
I'm not sure Rico Hill's touched the ball yet, has he?
I don't think he has. They've shut him off inside.
I'm not talking about a shot. I'm talking about a touch.
Inside, Watkins trying to power. Hill can't kick. And the Sycamores with the board in the hands of Derek Stroud.
Well, so far, they are getting a ton out of that zone defense, Mitch. I'm not going to say it's going to last for 40 minutes. Illinois State's feeling its way out right now because they're not doing much against it yet.
Green, this is Wells. They tried to get it into Cruz, and he was overplayed nicely by Leroy Watkins. Jim Cruz, they list him at 6'4". I'm not so sure he's at 6'3". But it just doesn't matter with him. He gets to the ball and finds ways to get it done.
Well, the other thing, he's in that over 1,000 points, over 700 rebounds, and over 100 steals. And again, he's in that with Larry Bird. That's incredible what he's done.
The only 2 guys in Indiana State history that have those kind of numbers. And now Stroud gets his man pinned and an easy layup.
Boy, what a great entry pass, and what great recognition.
And Rico Hill buries the 3.
Look where he decided to go to get his first shot. Outside in front instead of down inside with Watkins on the double low.
And Jim, it was only his 3rd 3-point make of the entire season. He's now 3 of 18. Cruz kicks it in. So what we just saw in that sequence, 2 of the conference's best players scoring on each end. Rob Gibbons, who just checked in, turns it over. And at the first break of the game, Indiana State has come out with a lot of energy. And their matchup zone is giving Illinois State problems as the Sycamores with an early 3-point lead here at the Kiel. Indiana State leads Illinois State by 3. I was wondering, Jim, how Indiana State was going to get shots against the defense.
Boy, you take a look now. When I say getting the ball where you want, now watch it now. Down in the bottom of the screen, watch a defensive player come out right there. Bang, he's going to get right there. Now, did you see the recognition? Right over the top of the defense. Got him the ball where he wanted it, when he wanted it. Nice conversion, and they couldn't rotate fast enough on the other side, Mitch.
And the pass was excellent to the outside hand to the boundary. And Illinois State now has gone to his own.
Boy, how about, you know why? And that is a terrific move right there. That's a terrific move because you know what? One of the keys for Indiana State, what do we say? Be aggressive on offense? Boy, they were doing a terrific job against a good Redbird defense.
Cruz has it rejected. As Illinois State has gone to the bench even more, Steve Hansen.
Let's keep track. Score 9-6 when Illinois State goes to the zone. I think that's a terrific adjustment there by Kevin Stallings.
Illinois State does not have many weaknesses. The one little chink in their armor could be turnovers. In 7 possessions prior to this one, they had 3 turnovers. They turned it over 25 times in a game earlier this year in a loss at Duquesne. Hayfire, short from 3. Hill trying to follow and kicks it out of bounds. But you know, Jim, the Illinois State team, as I mentioned, not a lot of weaknesses, but early in the season in particular, they had the propensity to turn it over.
They did have it. Let me take a look. What are they? They're at turnovers 15 per right now, so they've adjusted.
But a very good team, normally passing the ball. Wells is hot.
He has, I mean, tell you, that young man has turned his game up a couple of levels since we last saw him, Mitch. Don't you agree?
This season against Illinois State coming into this game, Jason Wells was 0 for 10 on threes. He has 2 in this game.
12 points in yesterday's game and 9 rebounds. That's a pretty good effort.
Still can't get off the side, but Rico Hill does what he does best and tips it in.
What do they say about the zones, right? One of the things that you've got no blockout responsibilities. There's Rico. He's got to hang around that board. They've got to get some second efforts if they're not scoring from outside. But you've got to get into a body.
Nick Hargrove hasn't got off the shot yet. Jason Wells has been the problem for Illinois State this far.
If I'm Indiana State, Mitch, I don't know if you agree with me, but I'm just going to do what I'm doing now. I'm just going to move. I'm going to try to get them and get them in a seam right there, just like that, and kick it back out.
Great defense by Hansel.
Terrific.
Hansel was called the 6th man of the year by the Missouri Valley Conference.
Nick took 2 dribbles too many, Mitch. He had the seam, and he should have stopped and gotten the ball up on the glass. Especially coming off his big game yesterday at the career high.
Hill maybe passed up a shot and turns it over.
Yeah. No spacing right there.
Looks like Rico had a 10-footer, didn't he, Jim?
Yep, absolutely.
There's Wells, somebody to guard him, but Cruz chasing it down, the leading offensive rebounder in the conference. A 3 for Green out there, and Gibbons with the rebound.
Green lights start lighting up from outside, then I'm telling you, Illinois State's going to have a tough road to hold because Green's shooting stats aren't real good. He's better when he's putting the ball on the floor and working off the dribble.
The thing that impresses me as Leroy Watkins back in for Illinois State is the bounciness and the energy that Indiana State has. And again, I don't know if they can sustain it for 40 minutes, but they're carrying over where they left off yesterday.
Can I tell you something? We're going to find out. We're going to find out.
Jamar Smiley back in. There you see the turnovers. The Redbirds with 4. Although the Sycamores have yet to capitalize a bucket off of it. Oh, nice play, but the layup missed underneath. As Pearson in for Illinois State, Kenneth Pearson, who started to play a little bit more in the front line for the Redbirds.
He's been big off the bench, Mitch. He's playing his best basketball right now, and he's at his best when he's active. He is an unbelievable leaper.
He had his knee scoped after injuring it here at the Kiel earlier in the year. A big win blowing out the ball.
Now out of the zone into the man-to-man. Isn't that interesting?
Ben Anderson misses a hook for Indiana State, and the Redbirds fly up the court.
You watch Ben Anderson inside. I know why he's in the game, and we'll get into it.
misses a three-pointer. Has his own board, and will follow in the miss.
They've got a very, very good bench. When I say they, I'm talking about the Redbirds. They have a very good bench. They've got people that can come in and really do things. They know their roles, and that's what they do.
And in a tournament, how important is that over a 3-day span? That when you can go 6 deep on the bench, Haskins for 3. Chased down by Pearson. Interesting that Kevin Stallings is using a bunch of people here early. Rico Hill banks in a 2. He laughs as he goes down the court, but he's going to take it. He has 7 of the Illinois State 12 points.
Like a broken bat single, isn't it?
But you know what? It still shows up 1 for 1 in the scoreboard.
In the pocket.
Hard forcing, and now Indiana State's been forcing some shots.
You are absolutely right. They have gotten out of their rhythm offensively. The zone distracted them for a while. They got out of the zone, and now they're quick shooting too much.
But that's easy to do against a good defensive team like Illinois State, who's used its bench, and Kyle Cartmill with this bucket. 1-seed Illinois State battling the 9-seed Indiana State, tied at 12 here, 10:50 remaining in the first half. A reminder, this telecast is authorized under the rights granted by the Missouri Valley Conference. Not intended for the commercial use of our viewing audience. Any reproduction, rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of the telecast without the express written consent of the Missouri Valley Conference is prohibited. What's interesting, the earlier games this year between these two teams, Jim, Illinois State really routed Indiana State twice. That 10-point win was misleading. They led by 20 with 5 minutes to go.
And that was at Indiana State.
What about the boards, Jim?
Look at this. Second chance right there.
And a three-pointer. Carl Cartmill off the bench with 5 Redbird tallies, and Illinois State has its first lead.
That guy comes in for Schaefer most of the time, and he is springy and explosive, and he's doing it. You get Pearson and you get Cartmill coming off the bench, then Gibbons later on.
Hargrove had a season-high 19 yesterday, but his 3 spins out there.
Sycamores have been stuck on that 12 mark for a while, huh?
For Indiana State, number 4, Nate Green.
We talk about rebounding. What about here on the block?
Take a look. See, when I said that they can score and they've got the inside present, they can defend. Look at them look at the body right in there. That's a great replay right there. That is the way to execute. That's one for the highlight film.
Leroy Watkins is a wide person. It almost takes him on that wide to keep Jim Cruz out of there. Cartmill feels he has 8 points. He only averages 5 per game, Jim.
Well, he's a 30% three-point shooter. He's, 21 out of 69, so he's not afraid to take it.
But his career high, 15 against Indiana State.
Isn't it interesting? Look at who's sitting on the bench over there, right? Huh? Schaefer. Look at Rico Hill sitting on the bench. Oh, boy, look at the numbers.
Illinois State has liked the 3 so far. Cartmill with 2, Muller with 1, Rico Hill with 1. They have 4 threes, but Schaefer doesn't have it.
None. And they're stuck on 12 for a long time, I can tell you that, Mitch.
Illinois State, Jim, is on a 12-0 run here.
Yep.
Including the bench helping him out in a big way with Kyle Cartmill. Kevin Stallings talking to his team. 4th year at Illinois State. What a pedigree he has. Was an assistant with Roy Williams at Kansas. Prior to that with Gene Canty at Purdue. An outstanding player at Purdue. And a reminder, you look for the Rawlings play of the game later in today's telecast. The winning shot, big rebound, key defensive move. We'll show it to you on the Rawlings play of the game that we'll have later.
I'll tell you, Illinois State has really turned it up a notch. And you know what? The people that came off the bench are what has done it for them. They're playing at another level right now.
Another run has been extended to 14-0. And a steal by Cartmill of Illinois State. 20-12. Redbirds. Smiley misses the bank. It's going to be a foul on Pearson of Illinois State. His first and just the first team foul called against Illinois State.
Sycamores have got to just settle back in, Mitch, and start to think a little bit about what got us where we were early in the game. Don't try to get it all right back now. That's what happens. You get behind and you figure, boy, we cannot let them increase that lead on us. and we have just got to start firing that thing up there, but they're taking some ill-advised shots. They're not getting enough touches. They haven't got any flow. They're not setting enough screens and picks, and they're not spreading the floor out enough, and that's what Sherman's yelling at them right now. Spread the floor.
Folks, we're at the 8:47 mark of the first half. There have been 2 fouls called in the game thus far, 1 on each team. Steve Hart can't get to 3. The last Sycamore basket was 6 minutes ago.
That's okay.
Hargrove banks it in. Well, if Rico Hill can bank it in, I guess Hargrove can do it for Indiana State. His 26th-3 of the year.
One of the things that I say a lot about zones, 2 things cause zones the most trouble. The use of dribble penetration and player movement, and don't you think Illinois State's getting a lot of dribble penetration? Their Smiley is starting to create things. Now it's tough for that matchup or whatever kind of zone you're playing. It's really tough for you to make those adjustments. Look at wide open. Nice screen by Watkins on Wells that Dan Muller didn't convert.
An air ball from Muller.
Jim Cruz hasn't gotten many touches either, has he, Mitch?
No, he hasn't. No, nice jump stop for Green to get Hargrove. An easy bucket. Nate Green, you said he likes to penetrate, and he did so there.
He was a point guard in high school, and he loved to have the ball in his hands. He'd rather... Oh, there's Hill, and his spot again.
But Watkins takes it away from Cruz, of all people. Redbirds by 3. Offensive foul on Cardinal of Illinois State. Green takes the
You could see it coming, couldn't you?
Yep.
I mean, boy, you saw that they were really... Watch down at the bottom of your screen. Watch the Sycamore player. He knows what's going to happen. Bing was willing. Nate Green, there he is. You're doing it both ends.
Nate Green, smart play for Indiana State. But Indiana State trying to get it going offensively. The Redbirds of Illinois State by 3. Point advantage. You see Jim Cruz, the leading rebounder in the Missouri Valley Conference, and one of the top rebounders in the nation, setting down. And a reminder, when your plans call for travel, be sure and use our Missouri Valley Conference promotional partner, Days Inn. Use the NBC preferred account number and receive a special 10% discount. Days Inn will contribute an additional 10% to the Valley to help support conference scholarship programs. And our thanks to Days Inn, another one of our great Valley corporate sponsors.
You notice how the Sycamores, just as they said they would, Mitch, they're trying to spread that floor out and spread that defense so you can't help and recover. But, boy, they still aren't getting anything done.
Nice strip by Hargrove to prevent a Redbird bucket by Hansel. Shooting the ball now, Illinois State, or rather Indiana State, 7 of 19, Jim, and they've been dry in their last several series.
Oh, boy, ever since, well, they got off to a very quick start. What are they, 7 of them? I'll bet you they made 5 of those in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game, wouldn't you think? Illinois State went on a 15-0 run, so they didn't score many between the 14 and the 8 mark.
Rico Hill up in the air and no place to go and turns it over.
Just didn't read it well. He was expecting the weak side guy to be right there when the defense shifted, and they didn't.
7 minutes remains in the half. Indiana State hanging tough, trailing the 1 seed, 20-17. Stroud misses his own boarding. Gets it banked in home. Derek Stroud.
There's another guy that they've got to get something out of. Remember at the end of the Bradley game when he played like a wild man? And I said, boy, if he played that way all the time, if he plays that way, that's a big advantage.
Muller gets popped by Greenlow, and Muller will go to the line to shoot a couple. Dan Muller, what a story he is. His 93rd career start. Jim, he's already played 3,000 career minutes. A kid that's just a junior. And if he hits these 2 shots, he will have 1,000 career points.
Yeah, just needed 5, I guess. They need to go over there. What a great kid. What a great student athlete, right?
And I'm going to say, an athlete. He is so athletic. I mean, it's like he looks like a beach volleyball player out there.
Yeah, right.
Cruz back in after a brief rest.
How many times have you seen Jim Cruz taken out of an Indiana State game?
Not much. I'm sure Sherman's thinking about resting, and now Dan Muller has 1,000 career Illinois State Redbird points. 22-19 Birds at 6:25 remaining in the half.
Pretty good. They've got that floor spread pretty well, so they're playing 2-on-2 over in the side right here. Little 2 game, almost a triangle on that side.
Indiana State in trouble underneath. They end up getting a foul called on Illinois State.
They've been doing a pretty good job, Mitch, on that 2-and-2 where they pick and roll. Yeah, that was wide open again that time. I thought Jason should have taken that little baby jumper, but he took another dribble. When he took the other dribble, he got himself in trouble, then passed off, and they just didn't convert. But they executed pretty doggone well.
Schaefer called for the foul, his initial foul of the game. 3 team fouls now on Illinois State. Cruz with a good look and a miss and a rebound for the big Leroy Watkins.
Shea Fowler may not be scoring, but you see who he's guarding. Hargrove, guy coming off of his career high. Yesterday.
Watkins gets hacked low. We're going to call this on Derek Stroud of Indiana State. His first foul. Team foul.
Hargrove had missed those 4. We'll take a look at this. Hargrove had missed those 4 games, and he said, boy, that really helped him get his legs back, and he's feeling really charged up. There's the contact right there. Could have had a clean block, but he just came swiping right down through it. Unless you get that ball, it's history after that, because you're going to follow through and cause that contact.
One of the best winning bodies in the Valley is at the line right now, Leroy Watkins. Now, free throw shooting, not one of his specialties. Only 50%, but the kid, 4th in blocks in the league, 2nd in field goal percentage. But when you look at that body, Jim, and the way they play defense, what a force he's been inside.
He has a terrific work ethic, a real blue-collar guy, just like Jim Cruz. The interesting thing is, you know, not a senior on that Illinois State basketball team.
That's hard to imagine.
Oh, it is. It's unbelievable. How many teams do you know in the country that don't have any seniors?
And wins 21 games.
And wins 21. Wins their conference.
By 2 games.
In a pretty doggone good conference, let me tell you.
Evan Stallings has it going in Normal, Illinois. Green with 6 on the shot clock. This one's going to go to whom? I guess Indiana State's
I think it's going blue. And that's a good call by Paul Castro. That's exactly what happened. Smiley hit it out of bounds. Cruz is just not getting anything inside at all. They're spreading the floor out, but Watkins is doing a job on it.
He has just 2 points. He played 33 minutes yesterday. I wonder about his legs, Jim.
You know, I'm not sure that will happen to Jim Cruz. It's just that he's not. They're defending him. Look where he's playing right now. He's not even inside. That's where he does all his damage. Look where he is. Keep watching him. He's back outside again.
He's got that little hop, hop, hop all the time.
You know, and I'm going to say something in a minute. Shot.
It's going to be an offensive foul on Hargrove.
Yeah. Kevin Stallings came off of the bench there and started yelling, so he must have seen the same thing Ron Burkholz saw. You know, see if this makes any sense to you, Mitch. They are doing so much damage to Cruz inside and plugging the inside up. You think maybe, see, he was coming out to be a screener then, the high screen. Maybe he's getting him out of there to see if they can drive and create more as long as the middle is clogged up.
Excellent point. Hartmill, early hero for Illinois State, 8 of the 22 Bird tallies.
They're out of that zone into a man-to-man defense.
Hansel, and he'll nail a 3. His 12th 3 of the season and his first points of the game.
Yeah.
It's been the other guy, 3s, that have really lifted Kevin Stallings.
He's the 6th man of the year.
Yes, he was.
Well, that's not bad, right? Go off that bench and do that. When he's healthy, they are a much better basketball team. That's what our friend Kenny Mossman told me. So you got Hartmill, and you got Pearson, you got Hansel coming off of that bench.
Stroud missing the banker. And Hansel, a resident of the United Kingdom, back trailing lower, missing the 3. Schaefer couldn't get the tip. Hartmill inside.
You want to give those points to Schaefer. I don't know what you're putting down right there, but boy, he just ran to that glass from nowhere and kept the ball alive, and good things happen when you do that.
2 for Hartmill with an asterisk, right?
They have really got Indiana State, the Redbirds team, Mitch, back on their heels. Boy, for about the last 10 minutes, this has been all Illinois State, every aspect of this basketball game. And you know what? Sycamores aren't shooting very well. When you're not shooting very well, you don't look good. Remember Sherm told us that when we were down at Terre Haute?
But good defense needs to make you shoot well.
Yeah, you bet.
That's the other side of that coin.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Jim, that's impressive here is the way Illinois State's bench has picked them up offensively.
Yeah, and let's be honest about it. The Sycamores don't have that kind of a bench. They can't do that.
a shot up and in.
Nice move by Green. He finally got himself in action right there. Thought he was going to get a player control, but he read it pretty well. You know, you said something that I want to follow up on. You know, sometimes, what have I said, Mitch, when teams aren't playing well, it's because the other team doesn't let you. And right now, the last 10 minutes, Illinois State hasn't let the Sycamores do anything they wanted at either end of the floor.
Kyle Cartmill, a 3. He has 13 first-half points. He averages 5. His career high is 15. And Cruz gets fouled underneath. Illinois State off the bench already in this game has 16 points. 13 from Cartmill, 3 from Hansel, Jim. 16 of the 30 didn't start this game.
Well, you know what? That's one of the things you have to have, and you said it earlier, Mitch. When you're in tournament play, 3 games, you know, but you don't think that's critical for that club right now? Holy smoke. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Kyle Cartmill was called for the foul, his second.
And could I add something to that?
Yes, sir.
It kind of makes the guys sitting on the bench play a little harder, don't it?
And it makes for spirited practice.
Oh, that's what they say about the great football teams. You know, you name it, any place you want to name. If you've got them 2 deep or so, boy, those first stringers, they play with every bit of heart that they have, because they know if they go out, they may not get that starting job back.
Jim Cruz with 2 free throws down. Cruz only has 4 points here in the first half. But it's been the Illinois State bench which has been the story, and in particular, Kyle Cartmill with third Redbirds of Illinois State leading Indiana State 30-23. You look at the man of the hour right now, Kyle Cartmill, 13 points off the bench, 3 of 4 from three-point range.
He's best in an up-and-down kind of a game, and he's getting a little of that. He is really athletic, Mitch, and really explosive.
Here's the three-point numbers. Illinois State with 3 more free balls, and the Blue Men.
Unbelievable. He's only a sophomore besides. Look, here he goes. He's feeling it, boy. He might not have taken that in another game, but he's on fire right now.
And Kevin Stallings might not want him to take another game, but he'll let him for right now.
And if he'd have missed it in another game, he might have been out of there.
If he misses another one, he may be. 30-23, the Birds lead by 7.
You know, as badly as Indiana State has been playing the last 10 or 12 minutes, the fact that they're only 7 points behind, does that surprise you? It does me. Because, you know, you wouldn't realize that if you had just walked in and watched the last 10 minutes. You would think that Illinois State was blowing them away.
And a reminder to look later on in our telecast for the champion player of the game. Again, we'll announce our champion player of the game, Jim and myself, at the end of today's telecast. This is the 1 seed versus the 9 seed. In case you just joined us in the 1 seed, Illinois State is up 7 at 30-23 with about 79 seconds remaining in this half. Smiley creating and gets fouled. Jamar Smiley, so active, and the guy that makes the engine work. First in the league in assists, 6th in the nation, Jim.
He is, I mean, that kid is terrific. He's a great competitor. He takes coaching very well. He is the heart and soul of that. I'm going to get back to something. Can I, Mitch? Because I just said something before, and I want to make sure that any of our friends from Terre Haute, any of the Indiana State, or even the coaching staff, when I said they were playing badly, that's probably a poor choice of words, because I'm not sure they're playing badly. It's just that the tempo of the game had changed completely, and Illinois State took them out of what they were trying to do. So I hope nobody read more into that than it wasn't what I intended to say.
I think Sherm Dillard would agree. This is a deep 3 for Shea Powers, first of the game. That's the guy that usually will knock them down from three-point range. 41%, 3rd in the conference in percentage from bonus distance. He had 7 in one game against Drake earlier this year.
Did you say they have a lot of weapons?
They have a bunch of weapons. A lot of people that can score. And Cruz throws it away.
See, that's a good read by Jim Cruz. He knew, see, and that's why I was saying that Sherm probably made the adjustment he did earlier with Cruz. 3 players surrounded Jim Cruz that time, and he's smart enough to get rid of that ball because he knows they have the numbers. They just didn't convert. Take a look at it.
Take a look again.
Sure. Now, here's nice post up. Got him the ball right now. Look at 2 other players right there. 3 other players. 4. He was surrounded by 4 white shirts, and they simply didn't convert.
Jim Cruz, What a story he has been in the Missouri Valley Conference. He leads the league in double-doubles with 13. He had one yesterday, 11 points and 14 rebounds against Southern Illinois. The smallest player ever to lead the league in rebounding, and he's done it twice. I think you ought to go on the circuit and do clinics for little kids.
Well, he's certainly not the tallest, and he's not the quickest, nor is he the most talented, but what he does is phenomenal.
I've really admired the way he has played in this league. Smiley misses the three. Surprisingly, Jim, Illinois State has more offensive rebounds in the first half.
Just watching Kevin whistle, and I wasn't quite sure he's trying to set up the defense now for the last shot. He's going to double up right now on the ball. That's good. That's terrific.
Oh, they're going to get Cruz one underneath, perhaps. The help side there. Cruz! It's a layup with the offhand. He'll have a chance for a three-point play. Jim, I said it before. One thing that makes Jim Cruz so good is the fact that he's so good with his offhand.
Oh, my gosh. You watch this now. This is impossible and incredible. Look at that. Oh, man, what a great replay. You're right, Mitch. You called that in a couple of earlier games we did, but that's one of the better. That's on the play of the day for me. That's on the play of the day right there. Oh, boy, that says it all about that young man. He was even kind of excited about that himself.
His left hand.
And that's a big three-pointer right before the end of the half. And now they've got to shut him. They've got to shut him down here.
Smiley all the way at the other end. And he misfires. And Illinois State will take a 7-point lead to intermission. As you take a look at Jamar Smiley shutting down. But the Redbirds lead by 7 at halftime, and when Illinois State leads at half this year, they're 17-3. Now let's go to our Diet Pepsi halftime show. Here once again, Steve Schlanger.
Out right there, perfect position. Now watch our guy. I mean, is that incredible or is that incredible? He had himself boxed all the way underneath the basket and had the presence of mind and used that offhand as you said he's so good at.
And people see why Jim Cruz is so outstanding. We'll have the stats when we return after this.
On the alternate possession.
Yep. The old thing about the first 5 minutes, if the Sycamores are going to stay in this basketball, Mitch, I firmly believe they've got to do it within the next 5 to 8 minutes.
Illinois State, again, very good on three. To give Rico Hill a good look. Spins away into the arms of Nate Green.
Well, that's a very simple statement, but I really, truly believe that they need a jump start here again.
Jason Wells with his shot block. Let's take a look now at our halftime stats brought to you by TWA, the official airlines of the Missouri Valley Conference. Jim, what about the shooting stat?
Every stat you're going to see on here, there's only one that makes any sense. The three-point shooting. 7 of 15 and 3 of 11. That's 21 points to 9 points, and that's the whole difference in the basketball game. Look, everything else, you couldn't be any closer than that.
Illinois State had a bunch of turnovers early, and Jim Cruz with an offhand, left-handed tip-in. He has 9 points.
How many times have you seen him tip in? He did it yesterday in that big win here, didn't he? With that critical tip-in, left-handed.
Leroy Watkins can't power it up, and Nate Green with a second straight rebound.
That's a nice point, Mitch, because that's exactly what I was going to say. There's a young man, may not be scoring, but he's controlling the offense, and he's rebounding on the defensive end. And youngsters should understand that. You don't have to score all the time. You better play some defense, you better rebound, you better block, you better screen, do all those other things, because most of basketball is played without the ball.
Jim Cruz has it kicked out of bounds by Illinois State's help side defense. Jim Cruz has scored Indiana State's last 8 points. He has 9 in the game. The best Indiana State rebounder, point-wise, steal-wise, since Larry Bird.
A guy like Schaefbauer, he's got, what, 1 basket so far today, Mitch, probably? But, you know, he's guarding their best player a lot of times, doing a lot of rebounding, doing everything that he has to do to make sure he stays in that basketball game because it's a team game.
7 on the shot clock. Hargrove has just 5. Nate Green might have got by with a walk. As the clock, it's a shot clock violation. And Illinois State plays that outstanding defense. You know, Jim, you and I have talked many times. The team will play 25 seconds of defense and maybe then break down the last 10 seconds. Not Illinois State.
That is a great comment because how many times do you see it happen when they do it? They shut them down for about 25 or 30 seconds, and then, boy, somebody breaks down. 4 other guys want to kill that person because they've worked so hard on that possession.
But not ISU. They will pounds you for 35 seconds, and Dan Muller knocks down the three.
Jason shouldn't have done that. He went out there. I mean, he did an instinct. He went in to try to stop Smiley on the drive, but boy, Smiley knew exactly what was going on and kicked it right outside.
Now Green steps out of bounds with a trying to jump pass over to Jason Wells. Nate Green walking to the other, and Sherm Dillard, his team trailing by 8 points with 18 minutes remaining in the game. Dillard, every year now, Indiana State has improved in the win column. 7 his first year, 10 the second year, 12 this year. They're 12 and 15.
You're going to stay in that zone. You've got to get out there and spot that Schaefbauer guy. Now, he might be a streak shooter, and if he is, he might start getting on a roll. You got to worry about Danny Maurer. If Rico Hill steps outside, he's capable of hitting that. You've got to adjust the defense.
Illinois State hit 11 threes against Indiana State in normal to score 101 points. Schaefbauer, but nobody blocked off Rico Hill.
Almost identical to the first half play, wasn't it, Mitch? Same thing Rico did in the first half. That's good reaction to the glass. Good reaction.
Rico 5th in the league in offensive rebounds, that time getting 1 and a putback. 10-point lead. Now for the Birds.
Right now they're standing around too much. That's a good skip pass right there. He was the only man on the floor that was open, and he had a shot at it. And he took it, and he should have taken it.
Illinois State now. For Indiana State, there's a hold on Nate Green at second.
See what I was talking about, Mitch? You know, the one thing you can't do is you can't stop in your offense against a team like Illinois State, because they play so well, boy. They are just on you like anything you've ever seen. You've got to keep moving and picking and screening and trying to backdoor a lot, because they're always up in that passing lane and they're putting a lot of pressure on you. You have to keep moving.
Sherm Dillard has called a 22nd timeout. He knows that this is a very precarious point for his ball club, trailing by 10 points. Well, something that isn't precarious are the great people at National Car Rental. The Missouri Valley Conference proud to have National Car Rental as a member of its sport. Illinois State up 10 with possession. 3 minutes into the second half. Rico Hill just inside the three-point line.
Boy, he has really improved his shooting on his outside game, and is that going to make him a much more effective player at 6'6" and 225? Look at, doesn't he remind you a little bit of Marcus Wire? Because that's what a lot of the Illinois State people are saying. And the great player for DePaul in Chicago, and that's a great compliment. But boy, he just really reminds me of Marcus Wire.
He really controls that big wide body of his.
What a great reaction by Smiley. He had that ball stripped. Hargrove was about to pick it up, couldn't get it. Smiley bounced right off of the floor, Mitch, and got back to the ball, didn't he? That's how hard that young man plays. Kevin is in love with that guy.
He's not in love with that turnover.
What a segue.
He's been so good at times with his assists. He had 14 assists against Indiana State in the game earlier this year. 14?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, which means that they're moving, see? And when they're standing around, and that's exactly what Sherm just did again. He started putting his hand up, motioning they've got to start moving.
Not a good shot by Cruz, leading Muller to the other end with a layup. Danny Muller's in double figures with 10.
Well, wasn't one of their keys for the Sycamores get back in defensive transition? That's a good timeout by Sherm Dillard.
Sherm Dillard knows.
Slipping away a little bit.
A 20-second timeout, the second in about a minute and a half, called by Sherm Dillard. He's trying to bail the water out of the boat, but Illinois State's torpedoing him more and more.
You know, people have asked a lot of times, Mitch, and you and I have never talked about this, about the 3 ingredients for a good basketball team. And I'd say to people, I think you need some quickness. I think you need some strength. I think you have to be able to shoot the ball well. The next most important ingredient is depth. And boy, that's what Illinois State is getting today. That has to be put together, the whole package then, and Illinois State has put it together. And then the putting it together is where the coach comes in. And boy, they've got a guy, Kevin Stallings, who's on the way to a pretty impressive coaching career.
Great start. How about the last 3 years? 20 wins, NIT, 22 wins, NIT, including a win at Wisconsin a year ago. And this year at 21, working on his 22nd win.
Now, after the timeout, I like that a little better. They've got 5 guys that are moving a lot better, and they got the ball in the Cruz. Look at the double up right there. Nice move. Rico Hill couldn't even stop him on the double up. Now they moved that time exactly on that sequence, Mitch, the way they should have been moving.
Boy, and Rico Hill's got that top of the key shot down. Rico Hill, 13 points, 6 in the second half. Indiana State, Jim, has only scored 4 points in the second half in 5 minutes, and Jim Cruz has them all.
There goes the coach with Shane Dillon. Boy, was he upset with Derek Stroud. He said, you've got to get that hand up and get a hand up in that guy's face. Didn't even contest the shot. And Rico's going to... Now, you know what? Rico will put the ball on the floor when he comes out after him the next time. That's why I said he's going to be tough to match up with outside. I'm talking about Rico Hill.
Jim Cruz has the last 10 Indiana State points, and Hargrove gets mauled by Rico Hill underneath.
You know who else isn't getting many touches, many shots? I think he got one shot in the first half. Chad Atkins, right?
Yep.
One shot I think he had in the first half. I'll look at the sheet right here.
And Illinois State has done a good job on him. In the regular season, he was 4-17. And when Indiana State has had some big wins, not only has Nate Green scored, Chad Atkins is on.
I absolutely agree with that. You know, they've got Hargrove that can get some. You know, Cruz is going to get his anyway. He's going to get his even if he's not shooting out on the floor. He's going to get him at the free throw line. You know, and Chad Atkins has to give him that outside presence to help Cruz inside, and he's not doing much today, and that's why I said Cruz wasn't getting any touches in the first half.
This league has a bucket full of good free throw shooters, and I mean good, over 80%. Nick Hargrove shoots 80% from the foul line, which is good as Pearson comes back in, resting Dan Muller for Illinois State. But you better be one of the nation's leaders in free throw shooting to lead this league. A lot of good free throw shooters in the Valley. Pops them both in. Time to step aside here in game 1 of our 4-game menu. The number 1 seed, Illinois State, with plays like this from Dan Muller, leads by a dozen here at the Kiel. Coach of the Year, Eldon Miller, and he'll be battling the Evansville Aces of Jim Cruz in the 4-5 game.
Indiana State with a big body back in there. Ben Anderson's going to play against teams like Southwest, you know, with Moore and John Paul Nelson. Going to play against a team like this with Watkins and Hill. He's a big body, a wide body, and really plays very, very hard. He's not going to score, but he's going to do a lot of other things.
And so this is Pearson in the corner. Illinois State being patient, 10 to shoot. Rico Hill's had the field, but Atkins with the steal. I think Hargrove flipped it loose. Nate Green with the ball right now, Jim, has just 2 points.
1 of 4 in the first half. Only 4 shots. 3 of them were three-pointers. None of 3 at three-point range. He's got to get more active, but they can't get him into dribble penetration. That's what's so tough about Illinois State.
Yesterday, Nate Green nearly had a triple-double. 12 points, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds. On the pass, bounces off the head of Jim Cruz. Hargrove with 5 to shoot. Great Illinois State defense, and still a bucket for Nick Hargrove.
What a great reaction to a block. I give him a lot of credit. He went in with the big guys and knew he was in trouble, but boy, he had the presence of mind to catch his block shot.
Rico Hill, this time missing on that 16-footer in the circle. Watkins big in the middle, hit 6 blocks in a game against Evansville early this year for Illinois State.
I almost sense I'm watching Nate Green because I really like that kid. I saw him against Ball State when the Sycamores played him, but now that's better. He was spending so much time, Mitch, trying to run the offense and getting the ball to other people. He's got to put that ball on the floor. And the whole objective of defense is to know your opponent and to try to get him to do the things he doesn't want to do. And that's what Illinois State's doing to Nate. He's got to turn it around.
And what they normally do.
Right.
Oh, good back pick for Rico Hill.
Whoa.
15 points, but a nice back pick set by Leroy Watkins.
And what a nice read, right?
10-point lead for ISU, Illinois State.
What a nice kick out by Cruz because he was going to get a player control right there.
Foul on Leroy Watkins.
Now watch him put this ball on the floor, Nate. Now he's going to his left where he likes to go. Look, he's watching to make sure he doesn't get the player control. Gets a nice soft touch up on that glass. He's got to do more of it. He's got to get into that game more. See, he's become a marked man, Mitch, and we talked about this a long time ago. Remember, he had a couple of big games, and I said, I'm anxious to watch him now. People are going to get in his numbers, and most of it's because the game is played without the ball, and when you're a marked man, you've got to work twice as hard to get the basketball. And sometimes guys don't do that, so consequently, they don't get any touches and they don't get any points.
You'll really notice that next year as a sophomore, which people have watched more tape of him, more familiar with this game.
Nice.
Rico Hill with the defense.
Nice overplay.
Muller then block on Atkins all the way down the lane to allow Rico Hill to get his 16th and 17th points.
There's my story about anticipators and reactors. Rico anticipated that pass was coming back, overplayed it, flicked it, then went and got it. Boy, that was terrific. He's leading that club in steals, right, Mitch?
Yeah. It's 6-6. First team all Missouri Valley Conference pick. Redbirds lead by 12, 10 to shoot for the Sycamores. Hargrove was hitting that shot yesterday. Muller with the board.
That was a good point because he had that season high 19 and he was in a flow.
Ball's going to be out of bounds to Indiana State. And there's a timeout on the floor. 11:29 remains in the game, and our first game is the #1 seed Illinois State, up by a dozen here.
Players aren't as alert or aware of what is going to happen. Some are anticipators and some are reactors, and there's a big difference because you win with those anticipators and you lose with reactors, and that was a great anticipation.
If we get a chance to look at that again, Greg, if you can take a look at Rico Hill's number. Did you see the block thrown by Dan Muller on Chad Atkins all the way down the floor?
To be truthful with you, I missed it. I know he was leading interference because you mentioned it the last time, but I was more concerned with watching Rico.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it again. And I want to show you Dan Muller going down the floor, bumping Chad Atkins and blocking Jim Cruz. It's going to be a foul. Let's go back to the replay and take a look at it. Now watch Dan Muller on the other side of the screen.
Here it is.
Look at it.
You're exactly right. Look at it. Oh, God.
Well, that's called a lead block at Notre Dame.
Well, you're Kansas City training. You were noticing that right away. Illinois State jumped back into a zone right there. Jumped back into a zone, and I thought the Sycamores read it pretty doggone well. Yeah, we were talking about Hargrove yesterday, the game he had, season high 19 points. Remember at the press conference, Mitch, he said what a flow he was in and how good he felt. You know, the elements of field goal shooting, mechanics, obviously, repetition. You get in a groove, and rhythm is everything. It is top to bottom, rhythm, that's it.
Jim Cruz with rhythm on his second free throw after missing his first. He's 4 of 5 at the line for the game. Cruz with 12 points. And with 10:55 remaining in the game, the Redbirds lead by 11. And they have been sizzling.
I was just going to say the Sycamores have got to step it up on offense. You know, and Sherm has said to us, you know, we're just not a good shooting team. We're only shooting 41% on the year. We've had some droughts, which is what they had in the first half, and we just don't, you know, if we're not shooting well, the shooting does everything for us, and they're not getting it. They're only shooting 36% here in the second half. Guess what Illinois State's shooting? 64.
Indiana State still in that matchup zone. Standing with Schaefer drains the trail. Skip Schaefer 6 points on 2 threes. Interestingly enough, Skip Schaefer has the best bench in the weight training room for the Illinois State team and the best vertical jump. I mean, he's a little more athletic than people give him credit for.
I bet you East Carolina wishes he were still playing there, don't they? Look at this, another save play again by Cruz.
This time with the right hand from the left side. Schaefer again, look out.
What did we say about defense? Getting back, huh? Find somebody, get out to the three-point shooters. Exactly what Doc Conroy told me when we were talking about the keys for Indiana State. That was a perfect example of it.
All of a sudden, a 15-point lead with the 3-for-2 switches.
Look at the
exchange.
3 people fell right back in on Cruz.
Board with Smiley, and they throw it away, trying to find Hansel at the other end. Hansel trying to chase down the pass. Skip Schaefer now has 78 threes this year and 17 twos.
Boy, he is really, wouldn't you say, really streaky? I mean, boy,
sure.
But you know what? He never loses his confidence. There's a guy that hung around, Mitch, for how many minutes? what, 20, 25 or so, not
Hadn't
doing much.
scored, yeah.
Hadn't scored. Huh? Wasn't getting many shots. But you know what? Illinois State, they know when to get the ball to the mix up defensively and switch. When somebody's hot, boy, when you're playing for Kevin Stallings, you get them the basketball. Look where Shea Power is. He's waiting for it.
You just saw something, Coach, you won't see very often, kind of like you're seeing a koala bear away. And that is an easy basket against Illinois State's defense. Now an offensive foul on Rico Hill of Illinois State. That's the third foul on Rico Hill, 14th foul, and Kevin Stallings was not happy.
Unhappy. Said he pushed, said he pushed, said he pushed. Paul Castor didn't agree with him. Now we'll find out whether he pushed or not. See if he pushed. Oh, I want to tell you.
Little shoulder, I think.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Little shoulder roll. 54-41, Illinois State still up 13 at 9 minutes remaining in the game.
Chase Fowler, look at him, doing it all on offense. You know, he's guarding Atkins right up in his numbers. He's not about to let him get a three-point shot. There he is.
Good take inside.
How do you like that? How do you like that? I'm not sure, Mitch, that young man realizes how good a basketball player he is and how good he is one-on-one and off the dribble. He was almost going to give up on that possession, wasn't he? At least I sensed he was, but boy, he kept going. He gave a little hesitation. He got the defense back on its heels a little bit, and then he went to finish, and he forced the contact, and he finished the shot.
Team fouls now 5 on the Redbirds, 2 on the Sycamores. I'm going to tell you something else about Nate Green as we take a look at him. Going to the line, 72%, 4 of 4 in yesterday's first-round game against Southern Illinois. His offseason is going to be very, very important for him, don't you think, Jim?
Oh,
he needs to get stronger and get those stress fractures healed.
And you know what else he's got to do? If I were that young man, I'm serious, I would shoot 300 to 500 jump shots a day from the end of this at the end of the year here until I started next October. From everywhere on the floor. His stats aren't good, but I'm telling you one thing. When he starts to shoot from outside and can score from outside like Rico Hill's doing, that guy's going to be a premier player in the Missouri Valley.
And there he is, Nate Green, out of Des Moines, Iowa.
Nice
big
young
pickup
man,
for Indiana. He had a very intelligent kid.
Gosh, yes, he was wonderful at the press conference. Just handles himself. He does things effortlessly. He never gets out of control.
But he's going to have to get stronger.
Yes, absolutely. Now they got Hansel on him. See, switching left. Now they doubled right up on him because he was starting to control things a little bit. And Dan Muller went right over and double teamed him.
Green was
Now they doubled him again.
Jason Wells chasing it down. You know, we talked about Jason Wells early. He had 8 early points. He had
You don't
none.
think those Illinois State players know what's going on in this game? There's a guy that is starting to hurt him a little, and boy, they aren't going to let somebody do that to him.
Oh, and Jim Cruz. How did he get the shot up inside? Jim Cruz has 18 points and somehow flicked it up. Sherm's even laughing, and now a walk on Illinois State and the last 2 turnovers. But here's Jim Cruz on your screen. Somehow got it up. Let's take a look at it again.
Sherm Diller put his hands to his head and started smiling and everything. He just could not. Look at this. Look at, he's going to tap it. Look at with Watkins right in his numbers. Boy, we've had some great replays. Nice going, men.
Maybe he and Muller ought to make a 2-man beach volleyball team.
Ooh.
Look out. Oil those bodies up and get after it. Cruz, 7 of 11 from the field, 18 points. 11 in the second half for Jimmy Cruz.
I wouldn't qualify on that team, would I, with the lack of hair?
No, you're out.
Oh, I'm out.
Postage might get it.
Oh, he would.
But you get
age would disqualify me.
I didn't say that. 3-point miss from Atkins. Great defense on Smiley. Muller, nice trail.
Nice tip out. Oh, nice tip out. Who was that, Mitch? Rico?
I think it was.
Oh, yes. I know that they're the best, one of the best I have ever seen in all my years of doing basketball. Illinois State is as good at tipping a ball out on a missed free throw as anybody I've ever seen. That time Rico saved him and did the same thing.
Atkins written up for the traffic ticket at Indiana State, down by 10.
You talk about the little things, Mitch, that make teams what they are. Now watch. There's Dan Muller. He was going to take a player control, stopped, had the presence of mind. Look at the tip out. 5 blue shirts right under that basket right there. 1 white shirt. It happened to be Rico. Knew he couldn't climb 5 people. Tipped the ball back into play. Big. That's pretty good.
Excellent point. And, you know, I've just noticed the tip out is becoming a weapon in college basketball really the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And this team right here, Illinois State, there is good.
What about a tip in? Rico Hill with a tip in. He has 19 points.
Oh, boy. Yeah. You don't think he's going to be voted as preseason player of the year next year, do you?
Well, with Daisy and Parker leaving the league, it's a pretty good chance.
You bet.
Wells has his first 2 since the beginning of the game. Wells had 8 early.
You know, this is another amazing example. Watch the play, but watch the defense. Watch Schaefbauer. He isn't anywhere closer. Now watch him come in right there. You see that? Look at that. And look at Dan Maurer. When that ball goes in close to that basket, that's territory that Illinois State isn't going to let you in, just like Bradley doesn't let you in, or some of the other. Boy, they've got guys, they really go to that basket, and they rotate beautifully.
Free throw missing from Wells, 75%. Give Indiana State credit. They have been hit here with a couple of haymakers. Schaefbauer Rico Hill trying to get a tip. Can't. It's going to be out of bounds to Illinois State as Rico Hill active inside. Illinois State has had a couple right hooks here at Indiana State, and still they're in there.
You're going to say exactly what I was going to say. They have let Indiana State hang around, and Indiana State hasn't folded any 10 at all. They've stayed right with it. If their shooting would just pick up in the last 6 minutes or so here, this might be a little different basketball game. They just need to hit a couple of outside shots to get that confidence back.
Sugar Ray could only hope he's so fortunate against Macho Camacho. When you go back to the ring.
Oh, boy. Me?
He can go back in at 40. You can go back in, can't you? We might have to do that.
If I could make that kind of money, I'd do it.
Hargrove for 3. Missing a big shot.
You're right. I hate to say that, but you are right. And you know what? He thought he had it.
Hill, good. Off-ball look. On the other side to Cartman. It was the first half monster. Now Cruz steps out of bounds.
I'll tell you what, Indiana State's doing a terrific job on that defensive glass. Illinois State's not getting a lot of second and third kickbacks. They're doing a pretty doggone job of getting their bodies into people. And, you know, that 3 that Nick Hargrove thought, look at it, 3 of 17. He thought he had it.
And yesterday, a much different story for Indiana State from 3-point range.
Yep.
In their win over Southern Illinois. Atkins had a bunch yesterday. He had 4.
Sometimes, Mitch, let's take a look. 3 for 17, right? What's the other thing I was going to say? How about the legs, right? On the shooting, you play back-to-back games the way Indiana State did and expended as much energy as they did against Southern yesterday. The legs get a little tired, and you just haven't got that little bit. Maybe that's why they're 3 for 17 from 3-point range.
Yeah, excellent point.
Now, I also think that, as we said before, Illinois State's playing some pretty doggone good defense, but it's a combination of 2, probably. Hey, they missed and didn't get a tip out.
Speaking of great free throw shooters, Muller, 80% coming into the game, 3 of 4 in this contest. The Birds lead by 11 at 5:50 remaining in the game. Again, game 2 of this tournament this afternoon. We'll have the 4 and 5 seed. Northern Iowa and Eldon Miller's Panthers against the Evansville Aces and Jim Cruz. A reminder, coming up here very shortly, we'll be selecting our Rawlings play of the game. Could be a stuff, great defensive play, big rebound, key defensive move. We'll show it to you on the Rawlings play of the game.
Gotta get that ball in Nate Green's hands. Gotta get that ball in Nate's hands.
They gave it up to Hargrove, 6 to shoot.
Well, if not Nate, I'm gonna get it to Jim Cruz.
Great defense by Illinois State again. Hansel chasing on the loose ball right in front of us. Smiley with a quick flash to the cup bag at the bucket. Jamar Smiley. I mean, lightning quick move to the bucket. Illinois State leads by 13.
Well, I just looked up at the crowd. There are a ton of Illinois State fans here, aren't there, Mitch? Oh, man.
Well, people are starting to figure out this tournament is a lot of fun. There were a lot of fans here from Wichita State yesterday.
Absolutely. And Drake.
And Southern Illinois.
I know. It was wonderful. 2 good crowds yesterday for both games.
on Nate Green. Wells wasn't looking for the pass. Hartmill.
Look at Jamar. How's that? How's that for not taking for granted that the guy's going to get a lay-in? He didn't, and Jamar grabbed the rebound.
.425 remains in the game. Now a 13-point lead, and Illinois State with the ball. Smiley's in trouble. He was fouled. Might be on Stroud. Is Jason Wells injured?
Yep. His knee got caught when Jamar was going down. I hope he didn't hurt himself.
And you know, he's had problems, Jim, with the knee. In fact, the last time we had Indiana State on our conference game of the week, he was coming off a knee injury.
Just took a look at the last stat sheet they had at us, Mitch, and I knew something was going on. We were talking about Jamar. He has 10 assists. When they gave me this stat sheet at 54-44, he had already 10 assists. Maybe he's picked up a couple since then. He may get to that 14 before it's over.
He's had 3 other games with at least 10 assists. As Smiley misses the free throw. Jamar just 63% at the line. A little bit low for a point guard.
Right, especially since he's been to the line 106 times. That's a lot of free throws. And you've got to have a guy, especially right, who's going to control the ball at the end of the basketball game. You want it in his hands. You got to be able to convert those free throws.
He did there. He has 5 points in the game. Smiley, number 5 now, all time in the history of the Missouri Valley Conference in assists, and he's still just a junior.
Which I don't know how many people onto Nate Green. Now they're back in the zone. Boy, they've made some good changes defensively.
Hargrove has also been shut down for the most part today. In trouble on a, stepped out of bounds, I believe. Nick Hargrove thought he was fouled. But instead, the ball is going to go to Illinois State. And the Redbirds have opened up a gash of 14. 60-46, the number 1 seed leads. All right. Thank you, Steve. Steve and I in for a long day, but what better way to spend a day than 10 hours of hoop here at the Kiel Center.
Isn't it interesting? Hartmill had 13 in the first half, hadn't had a point in the second half. It doesn't make a bit of difference right now.
Not when Rico Hill goes off like he has with 12 second half points. Indiana State's fouling early here. 3:21 remaining in the game. Stroud called for the foul, his second. Ooh, looking 4th. 3rd foul on Stroud.
One of the incredible things about this game, Mitch, that you're going to hear me say right now is Indiana State has 46 points, 30 of them in the paint. That had to shock you now, right? I mean, you've watched the game, but if I told you that were going to happen before the game or something, you'd say, hey.
18 of those 30, Jim, belong to Jim Cruz.
Right.
Cruz still playing hard on defense. And timeout has been called by Jim Cruz as he got the basketball away.
Can I ask you about that call?
Yes.
You
don't
know
like it,
I'm going to ask you, right? Do I like it? Don't like it a bit. Do you?
No.
Guys jumping out of bounds in midair and everything, calling a timeout and everything. Can I make a prediction?
No.
That rule will be changed. Absolutely. I think the coaches are very unhappy with it.
I hear you. Indiana State down 14 in their huddle. Sherm Diller trying to get it figured out as we're headed to crunch time with 3:30 remaining in the game, and Illinois State leading by 14, 60-46. This might be a full timeout. I believe it is.
I think it may very well be.
For the Indiana State Sycamores. There's a lot of fans here, including the dance team from Illinois State, not far up the interstate. And there's my guys in the Indiana State Band. Now, Doug Kaiser is the director of the Indiana State Sycamore Band. There you see him. There's Doug Kaiser. Just had a new baby born 2 days ago. His band has as much spirit as maybe any in the Valley right now. And I got a chance to direct his band in Terre Haute. And look at those trumpeters. There they are. Jeff Burris, John Tim, Kent Setter, Shauna Callahan. That's why the Valley's a great league. All the spirit. And my Sycamore Band.
I couldn't believe when you walked by them yesterday, they all started applauding. I thought it was for me, obviously, at first. That really hurt.
All right, time for our Old El Paso crunch time reset. Team fouls. Neither team is in the bonus. In fact, neither team has been there all game. But the next foul on either team will put them there. The possession arrow belongs to Indiana State. Our Old El Paso crunch time reset brought to you by the great people of Old El Paso. Indiana State, do they have one last gasp in them, Jim, here?
I think they've got to start hitting from outside if they're going to do it. But their dribble penetration they aren't getting out of it what they wanted to get out of it.
Dan Moeller didn't quite have the angle he wanted for the layup. Indiana State hustled back to force the miss. Hargrove has had a miserable day shooting.
He's really upset with himself. The last 2 or 3. Nice steal. Nice
Great steal by Stroud. Smiley thought he was fouled, and a layup for Hargrove.
That might give him a little spark.
Redbird still up 12. 2:50 remaining in the game, and another near steal. Are they going to call a held ball that goes to Indiana State?
Look at Sherm, boy, giving him a big hand, saying, way to stay with it. Way to swarm him. They're doubling on every now. As soon as Carmel went right there, he locked himself right there. Watch, he's going to try to pick up his dribble. Now the sideline becomes another defender, Mitch. He should have gotten rid of that ball. He turned himself right into a lot of defenders, 4 of them, as a matter of fact. You know you've got the numbers. You've got to keep your head up and get rid of the basketball.
If Indiana State can score here, things could get interesting. Well, they're going to get a foul called on Leroy Watkins of Illinois State.
Boy, we see a lot of teams, Mitch, and I know other teams do it, but every single solitary time that ball has gone inside for the Sycamores, I mean, you talk about clamping down on somebody. They are not going to let the person that gets that basketball get the shot. They're going to force you to kick it, and that's exactly what you've got to do and beat the defense when it tries to rotate.
They're going to set down Leroy Watkins right now. And at the line with a 1-and-1 is Derek Stroud. Stroud misses the front end of a 1-and-1. Indiana State still chasing. Here's a backcourt foul called on the Sycamores.
Now he did hurt himself that time. Is that Jason Wells?
I believe it's Stroud.
Is it Stroud?
It's Stroud. And Stroud's in pain.
He absolutely is.
A little collision of knees here, Jim. Let's take a look and see if we can see what happened.
Take a look. Number 14 we're looking at. See if, oh, right there. See if Ben, see the, oh, yes, his left leg, left ankle. Yep, he went to grab for it.
I think his left ankle,
you could see it coming.
Smiley's shoe.
You could see it coming. I tell you, as surprising as it may be to some people, if it's that ankle, they're going to try to get him up and walk on that thing. Don't you think, Mitch? You've seen it as many times as I have.
Yeah, but they, you know, they're trying to get up on it, put pressure on it. You can see the ankle is hurt. Derek Stroud. Hey, if you like the color purple, you're going to love this next game. All kinds of purple. The purple of Evansville, the Aces, against the purple of Northern Iowa, the Panthers. It's the 4-5 game. Northern Iowa, the 4 seed against Evansville, the 5 seed. Give us your take on that one in our Diet Pepsi Missouri Valley Conference game 2. What do you think of that one?
That game, that may be a last possession game.
You think so?
Oh, I think so. Both teams playing very well right now. Evansville, off to that quick start, lost in the championship game of the NIT, and struggled a little bit after that and found themselves really on a roll right now. And you know Northern, man.
Miss by Smiley. Indiana State on the respirator, still breathing. Down 12. Green loves that left side. Art fouled by Smiley.
You don't think that Illinois State is conscious of Nate Green whenever he has that basketball? They are closing up those seams and creases, and 5 points is all. Now, the young man has played a terrific basketball game. Don't get me wrong. It's just that he has so much ability that they're taking it away from him, and that's what scouting reports do, and that's what films do. That's what walkthroughs do, so you're conscious of all these things.
Another free throw miss from Hart. Hargrove hits a 3. And that's what Indiana State needed. Hargrove has 14. The Sycamores within 9.
Little foul right on Jamar Smiley. They're going to send him to the line.
And he just missed one. He's only 1 of 3 at the line for the game, Jim.
And not much wrong with that right now, I don't think. Mitch, I don't know if you agree. Why let them come down, burn 20 or 25 seconds off the clock, then make a bucket, which means you've got to score. every single time you come down the floor. The elements here are, for Sycamores, you get to that line, you better convert. You better not turn the ball over, you better score, but you've got to go down to the other end, and you've got to shut down Illinois State. You can't trade 2 points for 2 or 3 for 2.
Smiley missing the free throw, tipped out to an Indiana State Sycamore. 2 1-and-1 misses by Jamar Smiley.
I wouldn't force right here. I would not force a bad shot here.
That's a good shot from Green. Nate Green shot it in rhythm. Indiana State is within 6 at 1:48 remaining in the game.
That's a good move right now. Steve Hart, for defensive purposes, takes Chad Hawkins out. He's got that much quicker guy on the floor.
So Chad Adkins becomes the offensive player, and you play 2 platoon basketball, right?
Sure, here he goes. He'll switch right now and he's going to get Atkins back in. You know, the one thing that Illinois State hasn't been able to do, Mitch, and that is to tip that basketball back out after they've missed those free throws.
Yeah, and I've said it before. What? Go ahead.
No, before this 147 runs off, I just want to make sure people understand. I give a ton of credit, and I'm not saying it because of what I said in the first half. This is a great performance, I think, by Indiana State. I think this is a big-time performance for Sherm, and he knew what that win meant yesterday. That meant an awful lot to him to be able to beat Southern Illinois, and it meant an awful lot for him to be here to be able to play on TV today. It means a lot to his program, obviously, and this is a gutty performance by his team. Look at all those players standing up on that bench. Not a one of them sitting down.
A make and a miss and a rebound. Moeller and a foul on Nate Green of Indiana State. Illinois State has kept Indiana State in the game. They have not free throwed very well, but an alert rebound by Dan Moeller of a free throw miss.
I mean, you want to talk about a big play in the basketball game. 2 Sycamores had that basketball, and it slipped through both of their hands right into Dan Mullen's hands.
Muller earlier became over the 1,000 career point mark for Illinois State. And he drains both free throws. 2 badly needed tosses. Illinois State has called a full timeout to try to set their defense with 1:43. Now they've switched it to a 20-second timeout. 1:43 remains in the game. Sherm Dillard trying to keep his team in it. His team trails by 9. Let's go back to the point that you made earlier.
Okay.
Because I'm equally impressed with Indiana State's effort in this game. It would have been easy to have been satisfied with yesterday's win and say, hey, this is a significant win. We took a little step, finally winning for the 2nd time since Larry Bird in this tournament. But you know what? They weren't satisfied with that win.
And you know what Sherm said yesterday? We are not going to be satisfied. You know the other thing I like about it? This team, the Sycamores, have won some gigantic games this year. We had them after 2 of those games when they played the next game. But they didn't play the 40 minutes. And boy, that's what they've done today. This, again, is a giant step for them. They weren't able to sustain it for 40 minutes. There's another drive by Green who created something. Cruz converts.
And Cruz has 20 points. Indiana State within 7. Illinois State gets foul. Good decision.
See now, they've got the ball in the hands. They got to get the ball in the hands of the people that are your free throw shooters now.
Mueller would be 1. Schaefer would be another, but Jamar Smiley's only 1 for 4 in the game at the foul line. It's time now to announce our champion player of the game, and that is Rico Hill. 9 of 13 from the field, 19 points, of which 12 of those were in the second half, 6 rebounds. And take a look at him. You're going to start seeing a lot more of him because he is the next megastar in this league.
Very good judgment by Illinois State, Mitch. Why am I saying that? They've been missing free throws. If you're making them, you don't care if they foul you, but if you're not, spread out the floor and do what they just did. Here's the play.
The Rawlings play of the game. A tip in by Rico Hill. It doesn't get much better than that. What strength and balance, agility. Our Rawlings play of the game brought to you by Rawlings. And Rico Hill's going to sit down now and wait for tomorrow. 65-56.
A little work on the floor if you were wondering what was going on and what was the delay. Just mopped it up just a little bit now. Sherman's saying, come on and hurry. You've got to get it. You've got to get it up on the glass. You got to create something and get 5 guys going to that glass.
No creation and no glass. And a foul on Jason Wells. Illinois State. And you know, one of the signs that you need to always hustle. It was interesting. They had the 1-and-1 at the other end, and many teams, particularly at this point of the game, would walk to the other end.
Oh, boy.
They're running down there like it's a 100-meter dash.
They went back there, and they had a meeting, and Skip Schaefauer was doing the directing, telling them exactly what we were going to do on the miss or make. Maybe they'll put a little pressure on the Sycamores, you know, token pressure, so they don't let them bring it right back up.
Muller said 3 of 3 at the line, has 14 points.
Boy, Nick Hargrove has been trying so hard, you know, to make something happen, and he's got to look. Just having to make him convert. He's really disappointed in himself.
15 points for Dan Muller. Green, final foul. Tip by Wells. Not sure that was a tip, but a ricochet off his face. But anyway, it's going to count. And Indiana State trails by 9 and has to foul.
There's a guy you might not want to foul, but you can't be picky right now, boy. This isn't a chess game any longer. You got to get the first guy that you can find and foul him. Hansel is, what, 80% at the line?
Yeah, he's 20 of 25 prior to today, but today's just 1 of 2. You know, this arena for Hansel probably has to make him a little nervous. When they played DePaul in here on December 4th, he broke a bone in his right foot. He missed 37 days, Jim. Hansel did. And interestingly enough, a year ago, he broke the same bone in his other foot. And yet he's been able to recover and having a nice game here at the Kiel in round 1. And Illinois State's free throwing has improved a great deal in the last couple minutes. 11-point Bird lead. Hargrove missing in Schaefauer. And Illinois State's going to survive and advance to the second round.
I'll tell you one thing. They know they've been in a basketball game.
Yes, they have.
From start to finish. You know, because the Sycamores, as we said, started very, very well. Got out of the starting gate, which is important in this kind of a game. But they did get out of the starting gate. And again, I go back to the fact that Illinois State, Kevin Stallings, with the score 9-6 at about the first or second timeout, just switched into that zone. And I thought it really caught the Sycamores by surprise. They weren't able to convert on any of their shots. And then they just, as we said, Mitch, remember, they were just quick shooting and not getting enough touches, and I think it hurt them at that 15-0 run.
Rico Hill came back into the game at the line to hit 1. He's got 20 points in the ball game. He had 23 against Indiana State in Terre Haute earlier this year. It's both charities. And ISU starts to sing the fight song here at the Kiel. Green misses the 3. And Illinois State is going to get a breakaway here. Hansel gets fouled by Hargrove.
Kevin's going to clear the bench.
And now Illinois State's going to clear the bench. But the starters for the Redbirds had just enough today, Jim. After the bench helped them in the first half. When Kyle Cartmill had 13 first-half bench points. But in the second half, the starters had just enough to keep Indiana State at arm's length.
Never lost control of the game, but as I said earlier, they knew they were in a basketball game. And you're right, you know, they've got a lot of weapons, and that's why I said in the stand-up, they've got balanced scoring. They're very unselfish, very unselfish. You're not going to play for Kevin Stallings if you aren't. They can shoot it, they can rebound it, they can defend it, and let's face it, they're pretty well coached, and they're very well organized and very well prepared.
I've admired Kevin Stallings as a coach for a long time. As an assistant, finally a smile breaks out on his face as he'll think about a semifinal game now and have to scout the next game as he'll play the winner of Northern Iowa and Evansville. Make and a miss by Hansel. This can end up being a 14 or 15-point game, but a score that's been very misleading. This was a single-digit game.
You're right. You've said that a couple of times, and I didn't realize that till after a while, the first time you said it, and I looked up and thought, you know, they're within striking distance, and you always worry when you can't put teams away.
Wells with a miss and a rebound to Ben Holmstrom for Illinois State. And game one goes to the #1 seed. No upset here in Arch Madness in the first game on this Missouri Valley Conference Saturday, as the Illinois State Redbirds win it by 14 over the feisty Sycamores of Indiana State. We'll be back to talk.